Alright lads, so it's officially a new month, a new year going into 2026. And with that, the gadget PvP has been updated. Bleach Soul Resonance has made its mark, making over $10 million in the month of December. Alright then, so this is something that we did say we do monthly, at least for like the next month or two for the most part. I don't think I'm going to talk about this every single month. But since Bleach Soul Resonance is a new game, a lot of people that are enjoying the game, like myself, want the game to do well. And this right now is a good sign to see how the game is going, at least for the first month and a half the game has been out. Obviously, keep in mind what we are looking at here is estimates. It doesn't paint the full picture, but it does give you a decent potential idea on how well each gacha game is doing, the one you're potentially playing, Soul Resonance in particular. But like always, there are other things to keep in mind, right? This isn't the full number, even if it was very close. But games like this also have access to web stores. So if you are someone that is using that, I know personally I do, any revenue spent there is not being shown in this. This is strictly looking at mobile, Android, iOS. But if we go ahead and zoom in case you did miss last month's situation, last month they did make over 8 million. This is a pretty big deal, especially if you are someone that follows Bleach games in general. We've never seen a Bleach game make this much money. I think the most Brave Souls ever made was around 6 million during the 6th anniversary. But within essentially the first 2 weeks of the game coming out, because the game did release very late November, it was able to make over 8.3 million. So going into the month of December, it was expected the number would actually pick up a lot, especially because in the month of December, we did receive 2 new characters. Our first one being SSR Toshiro, and the second one being an SSR Aizen. Both characters are very fun. Both characters are also really good and play well together. So it's kind of well timed, because the idea is that if you do summon Toshiro, you want to summon Aizen. And even before Aizen released, the idea was also if you want Aizen, you're going to want to summon Toshiro. And I think for most of us, we did try and get both. Then again, no one expected Aizen to be as good as he is. And honestly, you can throw Aizen into any team, which also might be a reason why a lot of people did go out their way to get duplicates of Aizen, because if you do max dupe him, he becomes an insanely powerful DPS character. He already is at base level, but he is the character right now, regardless of dupe investment, people are throwing into any team, and it honestly does make sense. So 10 million going into the month of December is actually relatively impressive. If we actually have a closer look, we can actually see the numbers breaking down by the actual games. So well, in case you did miss that, there are 3 versions of the game right now. There is the APAC, Global, and CN versions. Now, Bleach Soul Resonance is a Chinese game after all, so more often than not, you are going to see the Chinese revenue be the highest, and that's probably the most important one, truth be told. But weirdly enough, at least in the first month and a half, we've already been seeing a lot of people doom posting about the game, especially the global side of the game, the Crunchyroll, A+ Japan versions. How well are they doing? And surprisingly, going into the month of December, they actually saw an increase by quite a bit, to be fair. Interestingly enough, though, the Chinese version of the game didn't see an increase whatsoever. For both November and December, they both spent the same amount of money, which I'm not entirely sure is a good or a bad thing, to be fair, because at least in November, it was, again, only counting 9 days. And then for the entire month of December, they made around the same amount of money with 2 new characters releasing. But then again, I feel like, and this kind of a good thing with the way the monetization is set up, especially for those dolphins. For whales, you know, you're gonna have to spend a lot of money to max dupe characters. But I really feel like the monetization in this game is actually really good, especially for dolphins. Again, those limited time packs that you do get, you can pretty much spend £60 every 3 weeks, which to be fair is a lot for a gacha game. But you also do get a lot of summon currency, to the point that I know personally, I didn't really buy any of the Toshiro packs because I have plenty enough summons right now to summon for both Ichigo, Toshiro, and Aizen. And also Gin too. I'm pretty much guaranteed Gin right now without even needing to buy any of the packs from the month of December. So yeah, in terms of revenue, China pretty much stayed the same for the most part, but surprisingly, the global and APAC versions of the game did actually see an increase. Last month, they made 1.3 million. Again, that was only in around 9 days. And then this month, they did make 3 million. For the APAC region, 1.5 to 2 mil. Then again, remember, this is a full month, so maybe it seems like people were spending a little bit less in the month of December. But again, we are still in the honeymoon phase too, right? That also means numbers are naturally going to be higher. For those that are like very curious to see how the game is going to be month to month, it's more important to see the next 4 months, because revenue will drop, it will start to stagnate, and if the game continues making good choices and they start to retype characters, it will continuously go up during those big moments. But if the game starts to make bad choices, then we'll start to see revenue decrease, kind of like we are seeing right now, unfortunately, with Brave Souls. But fortunately for us, the game is making all the right choices. Again, a couple of days ago, we did get some news regarding changes to the banner schedule, and also the fact that they are listening regarding the Stamp Corridor game mode. But with that banner change, I'm very curious once more to see how the revenue is going to look a few months from now, because character releases are going to slow down. Again, the month of December saw 2 new characters, but now we're really only going to see 1 character release every month for the most part. But with that in mind, I don't think Bleach Soul Resonance as a game needs to make 10 million every month to be a big hit. Even if we do see a slight decrease in revenue for the next following months, if it can see a consistent high revenue, that's already going to be good for the game and over the lifespan, which is the main reason why y'all talking about this. But like we mentioned last month, there is also a few things to keep in mind. The game itself didn't really have the best launch. For example, there's no PC port, and that itself is stopping people from actually playing the game, which is understandable. But they've already made a lot of money from the first 2 months of the game, so I really do hope they start to try and invest in a PC port, and it almost feels like it's very close to happening. At least I would like to think so, because at least on the Southeast Asia version of the game, there is actually controller, mouse, and keyboard support that is integrated into the game. So therefore, meaning when they do eventually, hopefully add a PC port, the switch will be super quick. Most of the work technically is already done, at least from a controller aspect. All they gotta do is just make it run well on PC. Also, a big also, right? And we'll see how this one also plays out. But remember, the game is not available in Japan. I'm not sure if they have plans to release in Japan. I'm not sure if there was ever any plans to release in Japan. But right now, the game is a global game and also a Chinese game. So once more, we've seen a lot of Doom posted for some reason lately, with the newly announced Bleach Mirror's High. That game isn't going to be here for a while. The next time we should get news is in July, and it might not even release in the year 2026. I would assume it will, maybe near the end of the year, and in that case, it would give Soul Resonance a whole year to build itself up, really find its place, because we are still in that early phase. The game just released. And also, for those that are maybe worrying about, that new Bleach game potentially taking fans away from this game, one, I think Bleach fans will play both. I know me and many others are playing Brave Souls and also Soul Resonance. But at the same time, again, this is a Chinese game. The main audience is going to be China, but also clearly here having a good global impact. And the upcoming Mirror's High game is going to be a Japanese game that I don't think is releasing in China. So in the case for, Chinese players, they have Soul Resonance. In the case for Japanese players, they're going to have Brave Souls, but also have the newly released Mirror's High whenever that does release. And I guess for us global players, we're going to have multiple cakes, multiple games to play. But yeah, those are pretty much my overall thoughts on the revenue for the month of December. Overall, $10 million is a lot of money. None of us are getting that, so it doesn't really matter for us. But for those that want to continue playing this game, for those that want this game to do well, those numbers right now are a good sign. And again, those numbers can change month to month. It also can get higher than this. As someone that played Brave Souls from the start, for example, that game didn't always make the most amount of money at the start. The revenue increased month to month, year to year when they started making good changes and hype character releases. Remember, right now, at least in terms of the new characters, right, we are still at the early part of Bleach. Even though it's really exciting to get some of those stuff right, the big guns are going to come later when we get Full Hollow Ichigo, Dangai Ichigo, Hogaku Evolution Aizen. And while the Fullbringer arc might not be as exciting, I think the characters that do come from the arc are pretty cool. You also get a new Ichigo, right? Kugo's pretty exciting. We have all the Espada coming out, and then eventually we're going to get to Thousand Year Blood War, where a lot of the money and the hype is going to be at. The game itself could have made it easy and just jumped straight into Blood War to milk Blood War, and I think that would have been a good thing short term, but a bad thing long term. So I feel like they did the best choice here, starting at early Bleach, Soul Society, Aranka arc, for example, and just building our way there for longevity. Because I'm not sure about you lads, but I really like the idea that I'm excited for early Soul Society stuff. Hueco Mundo Aizen. We received this character, I believe, at the start of 2024 in Brave Souls, and it wasn't that exciting because it is just a character we already received before, but also it's just a premium mid-month banner. Didn't really offer anything new gameplay-wise. And that's why when it comes to Brave Souls new characters, the exciting stuff is the new stuff. The, Bankai Shunsui and Aizen that we did receive earlier this week. So I do like the idea that I'm actually pretty excited about, early Bleach stuff. I'm excited for all the Arankas and all the stuff that Soul Resonance has planned for the year 2026. Either way, hope you liked and enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Take care and peace.